I never thought I'd be one of those guys who got blindsided like this. I was gone for almost a year on deployment, thinking I was doing my part, doing everything I could to keep our family safe and stable. My wife, Jessica, was supposed to be holding down the fort. At least, that's what I told myself. We had our ups and downs, sure, but she was always there, always loyal, or so I thought. When I left, she was already acting weird. She'd be more irritable than usual, snapping at me over little things and avoiding my calls or texts at times. I figured she was just stressed or maybe trying to manage everything without me. She'd send photos, pictures of the kids, dinner she cooked, a few selfies here and there. I kept telling myself they were real, that she was just trying to keep things normal. But deep down, I started noticing little things that didn't add up. For one, her phone was always glued to her hand when I called. Not just when I was on the line, even when I was. She'd quickly hide it or shut the screen off. Little things. Like that. Then there was the fact that she seemed to be always busy, always out with friends or running errands, but never invited me or kept me in the loop. The worst part, she deleted messages I saw her do at once, quickly closing her phone when I walked into the room. That was a red flag, but I told myself I was just imagining things. Maybe she was just tired and stressed, maybe she just wanted some privacy. Still, I trusted her. I wanted to believe she was faithful, that she was waiting for me. But the signs kept piling up, and I felt this gnawing suspicion deep inside. Then I started noticing the little lies, the way she'd dodge questions about where she'd been or who she'd been talking to. The day I finally cracked was when I came home. I had that feeling in my gut that something was wrong, like I knew I'd find something, but I wasn't ready for what I actually saw. I pulled into the driveway after a long flight, exhausted and anxious. The house was eerily quiet, and that's when I noticed it. Her car wasn't there. That wasn't unusual, but what caught my eye was the note stuck on the door with her handwriting. Went to the store, back soon. Fine, no big deal, right? Except I saw her phone lying on the counter unlocked with a message open. It was from someone named Mike saying, "Can't wait to see you tonight, don't forget your condom." My stomach sank, I froze. That wasn't her typical text. It was explicit, casual, and unmistakably not innocent. I started digging through her phone, secretly of course. I found more texts, more than I expected. Flirty messages, pictures of her in lingerie, and even a recent selfie with her holding a pregnancy test. The thing that hit me like a freight train was the date on the test. She was already pregnant. And not just that. I saw a picture of her with Mike, both of them smiling, her hand on his chest, the caption, "Our secret." That was it. The moment I realized everything I believed about her, everything I trusted, was a lie. She'd been cheating on me for months. During my deployment with my supposed best friend, I couldn't breathe. My hands were trembling. I felt a mixture of rage, heartbreak, and betrayal all at once. How could she? How could she do this to me, to our family? I wanted to confront her right then, but I knew I had to play it cool, gather my thoughts. I needed a plan, some way to find out the truth without making things worse. That's when I decided I'd confront her face to face, but on my own terms. I was going to get answers, and I was going to make her regret it. The betrayal was mind-shattering, but it also lit a fire in me. I wasn't going to let her get away with this, not without a fight. The very next morning I woke up before her, my mind racing. I knew I had to confront her, but also wanted to be prepared. I decided I'd wait until she came back from the store, which I now knew was probably just a cover for her to meet Mike. I stayed in the shadows, watching her every move through the window. When she finally pulled in, I saw her get out with that smug look on her face, carrying a bag. She was acting normal, too normal. That made my stomach churn even more. When she walked inside, I waited a few minutes, then called her on her bullshit. I told her I'd found her messages, that I knew about her affair and the pregnancy. The look on her face was priceless, like she'd just been caught by a predator. She spun some cock and bull story right away. Said she was confused, that it was nothing, that Mike was just a friend helping her out. She kept denying the pregnancy was real, even though I had the damn test picture right in front of me. Her lies were so obvious, so desperate. She threw her hands in the air and started screaming. "You're overreacting. You're always so paranoid. It's not what it looks like." Her voice was high-pitched, almost desperate. I just stared at her, silent. I wasn't ready to do anything yet. I wanted her to keep talking. I needed her to dig herself into a bigger hole. That's when she went full-blown bitch mode. She said I was accusing her of cheating with my best friend out of jealousy, that I was insecure and crazy, and that I should just leave her alone. She even had the nerve to call me possessive and paranoid, like this was all my fault. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything she said, every lie. My mind was spinning. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut again and again. I kept asking myself how she could be so cold, so calculated, how she could keep lying even as I showed her proof. There was this overwhelming sense that she was hiding something even darker, something I didn't quite see yet. But I knew I had to dig deeper. I couldn't just accept her bullshit. I wanted the truth, no matter how ugly it was. In the days that followed, she got even more manipulative. She'd cry, say she was sorry, then turn around and call me crazy or possessive if I tried to bring up the affair. She'd dismiss my feelings, pretend to be the victim. Meanwhile, she was out every night, supposedly meeting friends, but I saw her car parked at Mike's apartment more than once. I knew she was lying, but I didn't have concrete proof of everything yet. The emotional toll was unbearable. I felt like I was walking on a wire about to snap at any moment. I started questioning everything about us, about what I did wrong, about what I could have done differently. But deep down, I knew this was her choice, not mine, and that made it even worse. She was a woman I loved, a woman I trusted, and she was out there cheating, lying, getting pregnant by my supposed best friend. I was furious, devastated, and hopeless all at once. The house felt colder, emptier, even though she was still there. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was living in some cruel nightmare, waiting for the next shock to hit. Little did I know, things were about to get even more complicated and darker. After that initial confrontation, I decided I couldn't just sit around and wait for her to slip up again. I had to know everything, every lie, every secret, every detail. So I started digging deeper, paying close attention to her patterns and behavior. I secretly installed a spy app on her phone, just enough to catch her texting or calling Mike when she thought no one was looking. I wasn't proud of it, but I told myself I needed to protect myself, my family, and get to the truth once and for all. It was intense. Every time I checked her phone, I found something new, more messages, more pictures, even plans for her to meet him again. She kept lying about her whereabouts, but her phone betrayed her. She was clearly trying to hide something, always deleting her texts or changing her passwords. I knew she was lying, but I needed to hear it from her mouth, face to face. I wanted her to look me in the eye and own what she'd done. One evening, she came home late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize. I was waiting in the living room, tense as hell. When she saw me, her face instantly shifted, that bitchy, defiant look. She tried to brush past me, acting like she hadn't been gone all night. I stopped her and I told her I knew everything about the affair, the pregnancy, her lies. She froze for a second, then snapped back with her usual bitchy attitude. "Look, I don't owe you any explanation," she spat. "You're gone for a year doing God knows what, and I'm supposed to just wait around. Forget it. I deserve better than this suspicion and trust issues." Her voice was sharp, angry. She kept insisting she was innocent, that she never cheated, that Mike was just a friend helping her through a rough patch. Her excuses were so transparent it made me want to scream. I asked her why she kept lying, why she couldn't just tell me the truth if she really loved me. She rolled her eyes and called me paranoid, crazy, and accused me of being insecure. Said I was just jealous because she looked better than any woman I could find. I was boiling inside. I wanted to punch her, to shake her, to make her see how much she was hurting me, but I held back. Instead, I told her I wasn't going to leave this alone. I told her I was going to find out everything, whether she liked it or not. I had enough of her lies, her fake smiles, her fake photos. Every damn photo she shared of us, of the kids, was a lie. I knew that now. She was lying about everything, and I was done being played. The next few days were a nightmare. I kept digging, trying to piece everything together. I reached out to some of her friends, ones I'd trusted, asking questions. I found out she'd been sneaking around with Mike for months, even before I left. The pregnancy was real. She told her friends it was complicated, that she was scared. But the truth was she'd been planning her escape. She wanted to have this baby with Mike, to start a new life, maybe even get rid of me completely. That realization hit me hard. She'd planned this while I was out fighting overseas. I felt so betrayed, so humiliated. All those years I thought she was my partner, my soulmate. Turns out she was just waiting for the right moment to dump me and start her new life with Mike. The worst part, she still acted like she was the victim, like I was the bad guy for catching her. That bitchy attitude, her constant lies, it all made me see her in a different light. She wasn't who I thought she was. She was a manipulative, lying, selfish person who used me and then threw me away like trash. I was angry, yes, but also broken. I didn't know how. I was supposed to move forward from this. I felt like my entire world had come crashing down and all I had left was this bitter taste of betrayal. I started questioning everything, myself, my trust, the idea of love. I couldn't believe I had been so blind. How did I miss all the signs? How did I not see this coming? I kept thinking about the countless nights I was away, the sacrifices I made, and she was out there, secretly cheating, planning her escape, pregnant with my best friend's child. The betrayal cut so deep, I didn't think I'd ever recover from it. After I pieced everything together, I knew I had to make a move. Sitting around, stewing in my own anger and heartbreak wasn't going to get me anywhere. I needed to confront her properly, face her head on, and get her to own up completely. So I set up a meeting. I told her I wanted to talk, just the two of us in private. She seemed surprised but agreed, probably thinking I was about to beg her or plead for some kind of explanation she'd spin into her favor. That night, I waited in the living room, my chest tight, ready for whatever she would throw at me. When she finally stepped inside, she was wearing her usual bitchy smirk. She looked at me like I was some sort of obstacle she had to get past. I told her to sit down. Her eyes darted around the room, trying to gauge what I knew or what I didn't. I didn't waste time, I got right to it. I told her I knew about her affair with Mike. I showed her the texts, the photos, the pregnancy test. I laid it all out. Her face instantly drained of color, but she quickly recovered, her mouth twisting into some fake smile. She started her usual lies, saying she was forced, that she felt lonely, that Mike was just a distraction, that she didn't want things to get this far. She said she was just overwhelmed and that it was all her fault. I didn't buy it. I told her she could lie all she wanted, but I had proof. I told her I knew she'd been planning this for months, sneaking around behind my back, and that her pregnancy was just another lie she used to manipulate the situation. Her eyes flickered with anger when I said that, and she snapped at me, calling me insecure, jealous, and controlling. She accused me of not understanding her, of being a terrible husband who was never around, even though I was deployed trying to keep her and the kids safe. That's when I saw her true colors come out. She started crying, fake tears welling up, trying to turn everything around on me. She said I never really loved her, that I was just some guy who left for months at a time, never really there for her. Said she was just trying to get by, and I was the one who screwed everything up. I felt sick listening to her manipulate me like that. I'd never felt so betrayed in my life. I told her she was a lying, manipulative bitch, and that I was done. I couldn't stay in a marriage built on her lies anymore. I told her she had to leave, that I wanted her out of my house, out of my life. Her reaction was pure chaos. She screamed, called me every name in the book, said I was a bad husband and a terrible man, that I was jealous and insecure because I couldn't handle her leaving me for her best friend. She was furious, crying, hysterical, trying to guilt-trip me into staying, into forgiving her, but I knew better. I saw her for what she was, a liar, a manipulator, a cheater who used me and then tried to twist everything around. As she stormed out that night, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. The house was silent, colder than ever. I finally had the answers I needed, but they came at a terrible cost. I realized I'd lost the woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew. That night, I sat alone in the dark, staring at the empty space where she used to sleep, and I knew that I would never see her the same way again. The betrayal was etched in my mind, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered life, wondering how I let someone betray me so deeply. The days that followed were like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I moved through the house in a daze, trying to pretend everything was normal, but every corner, every piece of furniture reminded me of her lies. I couldn't escape the feeling that I'd been sitting on a fragile ice sheet, and it had finally cracked. I was trying to hold it together, but inside I was falling apart. I'd never felt so betrayed, so humiliated, so stupid for trusting someone who turned out to be a complete stranger in disguise. One afternoon, I found myself going through her things. I wasn't proud of it, but I needed to see if there was anything left that could give me closure. I found her phone hidden behind a stack of old magazines, and I turned it on, thinking maybe I'd find some final piece of proof, some last lie she hadn't deleted. What I saw was worse than I imagined. She'd been messaging Mike nonstop, planning their life together, talking about the baby, about how they'd keep it all secret for now. She'd even been talking about moving away, starting fresh somewhere no one knew her, with their kid. That was the moment I knew I had to cut all ties. I couldn't let her manipulate me anymore, not with her lies and her manipulations. I emailed. A lawyer started the process of divorce. I wanted out of that nightmare. I wanted to erase her from my life, even if it meant losing everything I'd built. I felt a strange sense of relief that I was finally taking control, but it was mixed with a deep, gnawing sadness. I still loved her, or at least I thought I did, and realizing she betrayed me like this just shattered that part of myself. The hardest part was seeing the way she continued to twist things in her mind, trying to paint herself as the victim. She kept calling me, crying, begging for another chance, claiming she was sorry and that it was just a mistake. I told her I didn't want to hear any more lies. I told her I was done, that I could see through her every word, every fake tear. I told her she was too late. She'd already destroyed what little trust we had left. I knew now that I'd never get that back. The love I once felt for her was gone, replaced by anger and disappointment. In the quiet moments, I kept thinking about the future and what it would look like. I knew I couldn't stay in this house with her anymore. I had to start over, rebuild my life from scratch. The betrayal had opened my eyes to who she really was, someone selfish, manipulative, and completely dishonest. The worst part was knowing she'd never truly regret what she'd done. She'd only lie and spin her story until she convinced herself she was the victim. That kind of person doesn't deserve forgiveness, not really. So I made the decision to move out. I found a small apartment nearby, just enough space to breathe, to start healing. I knew I needed time, maybe years, to get past this, but I also knew I'd be better off without her. I learned some hard truths about trust, about instinct, about how dangerous it can be to ignore the signs of betrayal. Most of all, I learned that sometimes love isn't enough to save you from the deepest kind of heartbreak. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. Right now, I'm still healing, still trying to figure out how to trust again, how to love again without this shadow hanging over me. But I want others to know. Do ignore the warning signs. Don't be naive about who you trust. When someone shows you who they are, believe them, because the pain of betrayal cuts deeper than I ever thought possible. And at the end of the day, you have to decide if you're willing to pick up the pieces and move on, or stay stuck in the wreckage. For me, I'm choosing to rebuild, stronger, wiser, and with a truer sense of what real loyalty looks like. Now, looking back, I realize how much I underestimated her. Jessica wasn't just some woman who made a mistake. I see her for what she really was, a manipulative, selfish person who used my trust as a tool to get what she wanted. The pregnancy, the lies, the sneaking around, none of it surprised me anymore. It all made sense in the end. She wanted out, and she was willing to do whatever it took to make that happen, even if it meant destroying everything we had built together. I've learned a few harsh lessons from all this. First, trust is a fragile thing. Once broken, it's nearly impossible to fix. Second, you can't ignore your gut feelings. Those little signs of suspicion are often right. And third, love isn't enough. Sometimes the person you love is hiding who they really are, and no amount of hope or forgiveness can change that. You have to protect yourself first, emotionally and mentally. I don't regret discovering the truth. It hurt like hell, but it also freed me. I no longer waste my time trying to fix what's broken beyond repair. Instead, I focus on healing, on moving forward bit by bit. I've started therapy to process everything: anger, betrayal, sadness, and I've begun to rebuild my life without her. It's not easy, and I still have days where everything feels like too much. But I know this: I am stronger now because of it. I've learned to trust myself more, to listen to my instincts, and to never settle for someone who doesn't value me. To anyone out there dealing with betrayal, I want you to know you're not alone. It's the worst feeling in the world, and it will break you at first. But time, patience, and self-love are your best allies. Don't let someone's lies define you. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect, things that are earned, not given lightly. And if someone shows you their true colors, believe them, because the truth might be painful, but it's also the only way to set yourself free. I'm done with that chapter of my life. I'm finally ready to move on, to find happiness again, even if it's in a different form. And I hope others can learn from my pain. Trust your instincts, look out for the signs, and never let anyone manipulate your love into something they can use against you. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you have is with yourself. And you owe it to yourself to walk away from lies and betrayal and into the light of honesty and respect.